Alright guys, welcome back to Tardis Talk, where we run down the latest episode of Doctor Who, give our theories, thoughts and opinions, and point out a few Easter eggs along the way. I'm your host, Smack Talks, and I'm joined by the lovely Miss Revolution, as we get set to talk Series 10, Episode 2, Smile. So this week seen the Doctor and Bill travel the first colony world where they encountered the last of humanity colonising the planet, only without any visible humans. Instead, the place was run by the Vardy, microscopic robots used by humans to help build and colonise the planet, along with the smiling emoji bots to interact with. So let's talk first thoughts. Elle, what did you make of Smile? Was it a smiley face, a sad face, or somewhere in between?
I think for me, I was somewhere in between. I think for an episode purely based on basically emojis, it lacked like a lot of emotion, especially with some of the later subjects. So I think it was kind of like a missed opportunity. I think they could have gone a lot further. I think it was kind of one of those episodes, for all I wasn't utterly keen on it. Yeah. I think it kind of maybe would have benefited by being a two-parter and kind of having the whole subject of grief and things played out a little bit longer and not just given a dodgy finish per se.
Ooh, so you weren't happy with the finish?
I wasn't happy with the finish, but overall, I really don't. I literally am stuck in the middle because there were some elements I did like, and then some of them, they were kind of just brushed under the carpet. And when you're dealing with something like grief, I think it needs to be something a lot more drawn out and played out.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. I mean, we'll probably cover the way that they kind of resolve things and the plot itself a little bit later on. But I kind of feel the way you do on this one. I would rate it somewhere in between. So I wouldn't say smiley or sad, just somewhere in between, like the Doctor's face, like a kind of puzzled face with them like really mean eyebrows. So I liked it, but I think what I felt was that it was missing something. There didn't really seem to be too much of a threat, unlike last week, where I think last week I said it was really horror. It was like old school. Where this, it didn't seem scary, terrifying whatsoever. They were in a nice new building, looked all like futuristic, these nice smiley robots. It just seemed to be missing that big threat. And I don't think there was ever a point in the episode where they did seem like they were in utter peril.
I think the thing for me was, I think it was focused too heavily on the emoji bots, and I think if there'd have been more attention to the Vardy as opposed to the robots, I think they were the threat, and they weren't really utilising the fact that the robots were really slow. It really didn't help at all.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, there was a point in it, I can't remember the exact line, but either the Doctor or Bill, one of them says, when they don't run like that, it's because they've got another plan. And then seeing the Vardy come out of the building and go to chase them, but all of a sudden, the Doctor and Bill had already left the building. Like, they run around like a penguin with its arse on fire, super fast, and the Vardy didn't have a chance. So again, it was like there was no threat.
For me as well, I wrote in my notes, I think, and I know it's totally over the top, but for me, I would have had the Vardy take like a much more mobile approach and have the robots barely move at all and just being the emoji interface. And I even wrote down that I kind of wish it would have been like the Vashta Nevada origin story, have the Vardy act as this thing that is supposed to kind of like eradicate death in a sense, to get rid of grief and things. But because they've basically wiped everyone out, I'd have that like travel throughout the galaxy and then kind of become the Vashta Nevada, and the one thing it was supposed to eradicate, it almost becomes like death itself and just kills everything. I think I would have liked that, but I know it's a bit over the top and things, but it felt a lot like that, so I would have kind of liked some piecing together or something.
See, I don't think that is over the top. I think that'd make for a really cool origin story. So I think it makes a lot of sense in how it would actually become like that. And the way it acted, it did kind of, take all that meat and the flesh off the bones, just like they did. So it was like very similar in that sense. So I actually give you props for that. I think that's like an awesome idea.
I think as well, like we said last week, there's this recurring thing, maybe because it's Moffat's been about for quite a while now, that we're seeing these things that seem to repeat. Like last week we said it was a bit like the Midnight and the Water on Mars, and this was a lot like their Vashta Nevada. And I even wrote in my notes that it reminded me of The Empty Child, where the nanobots were supposed to like kind of heal the patients, but because there was a malfunction or something, it kind of ended up making them into monsters. And this is kind of a little bit like that. Again, the robots didn't do what they were originally supposed to do, and it changed. And I don't know. I don't know if it is because Moffat's been around so long, or he's just running out of ideas. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it is like the fact that he's either running out of ideas or because it's his final season, he wants to kind of incorporate some of like the older ones and kind of rehash them. Maybe change something that he wasn't happy with, and it gives him the chance to go back and sort of redo it. But I don't know, at the same time, it feels as though we've been waiting so long for Doctor Who. You want something new to like show that it's been worth the wait. But so far, I think I kind of feel like it's kind of repeating in a way, like stories that we've already been told. So it doesn't feel as fresh in one sense, when at the same time it is fresh because of the fact that we've got Bill there and it's new to her. But as viewers that's seen all these previous episodes, it does feel like we're getting a lot of the same.
I think it's pretty awkward because we do put Doctor Who on this high pedestal and things are going to repeat over the years. But I think because it's Moffat's last series, it's Capaldi's last series, we're all expecting something a little bit more. I know that Moffat said that we shouldn't, and it should be just a normal series, but we can't help it because it should be this grand event and things. But it's kind of that. Do you come across like being too opinionated on it and things and criticising where we probably shouldn't are? I don't know, it's a hard one because I am enjoying it, like I said, but it does feel a little too common.
Yeah, maybe it's just the fact that, you know, it has been so long and we've kind of built our expectations up thinking, oh, he's had so long to come up with these amazing stories. Like, he can't let us down. And then we get two that's not amazing, they're kind of mediocre, and it's like, oh, what's going wrong? But I'm sure like it'll get better as the season goes on, and obviously the finale itself will no doubt be absolutely amazing. So let's talk the plot for this episode. We had the Vardy turn on humanity, and apparently the reason for that is that they're alive. So they've become self-aware, and because of that, they're trying to figure out for themselves what grief is after the first colonist dies, only to mistakenly see grief as an infection that needed to be cleaned. So you've already mentioned it was similar to, I think it was The Empty Child, and did you also say it's very similar to a video game that you've been playing?
Well, because like I've been hammering Mass Effect for the last few weeks, it kind of reminded me a lot of that, where you have these robots called the Remnants, and they're originally supposed to create life and provide for the universe and things. And it was bugging me when I watched it because I couldn't like think what it reminded me of. And then when I watched it back and I was writing notes, it's exactly that. You have this colony where people from even to like the pods and things there in Mass Effect, like you have these arcs with different species going out to kind of try and populate all these different worlds. And even down to that, it's exactly the same. It's not a bad thing, it's just a massive coincidence, but it kind of made me realise how similar they were. And you've got like the Vardy and these remnants doing exactly the same job, not necessarily mean to cause harm, but because something's gone wrong, they're doing exactly that.
Yeah. So do you think Stephen Moffat's been playing Mass Effect?
There's a good chance. He's got like a lot more spare time on his hands now, so maybe
if he hasn't, there he goes. He's got like the full trilogy, the new one to go through. I'm sure he'll enjoy that. He'll have spare time now. I don't know what I thought overall. I would say maybe a little bit weak, the plot, because like you pointed out, like the comparison to An Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, I think it is pretty much the same kind of thing. Except I think the older ones, they were done so much better. And I think what we mentioned about the emoji bots not really being too much of a threat, I think even though we had a slow moving child in the older ones, it still felt like the way that they'd done it and sort of the atmosphere, the place it was set, it felt a lot more scary and stuff at the time. It felt like it was a genuine threat, and you had it going around and turn people into these like zombies with like gas masks on. So I think that it was handled so much better than how this has been, because it just comes back to the fact that it didn't feel like there was any kind of threat. If the emoji bots had turned into the Vardis themselves, like they'd all come together to become the bots, then knowing that they could at any moment turn into the Vardy and then fly after them, it would seem like much more of a threat and an imminent threat, instead of seeing this emoji bot smiling away and then going to a skeleton face and waddling after you. So it keeps coming back to that for me. It felt weak because it didn't feel like they were under any kind of threat whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a strange one because like visual wise the whole episode was completely stunning and they did everything right in that sense, But it was just like there was no suspense. There could have been other ways, maybe via tannoy or something, kind of like they did with the empty child, how they could have maybe taunted Bill and the doctor, but there was just nothing there. They kind of got to run whatever they wanted, and if they bumped into a robot, that was the only challenge. And even then, they could outrun them. But I don't know, I just think they completely missed the ball, and had they maybe made more of the Vardy and things, it would have been like this bigger threat. But I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I dislike it, but I don't mean to.
Yeah, see, it's weird because I probably sound really negative about it, and I don't mean to, because
That's exactly me as well.
it kind of put a smile on my face, to be a bit punny. But I did kind of enjoy it. It was just, I think I was let down by the fact that I was expecting more, which is probably my fault, I guess. But no, I thought it was cool overall. There's quite a lot of like little throwbacks and things, and to me, it felt a lot like Silence in the Library. The fact that they arrived there and there was no one to be seen, and even like when you mentioned the Vashta Nerado, it was just like whenever they switched to the skeleton face, even that, like the emoji bot with that face, kind of reminded us of like River's team and just the skeleton like face appearing in the spacesuit. So there was loads of like little throwbacks like that where they weren't specifically that, but it just it gets your mind going because you've seen so many episodes in the past, and there's little things that you pick up on that a new viewer would just be like completely oblivious to. But like we said last week, that's the coolest thing about Doctor Who, just picking up on all these things from its rich past.
And there's me. I nearly went an entire episode without mentioning River Song, and then you go and ruin it.
Hey, there's plenty of time to come. I'm sure you'll mention River at least 3-4 times. Plenty of time.
Well, I intended not to. I think, like you say, that thing, because Doctor Who's been on so long, you're always going to get these like throwbacks and things, whether they're intentional or not. It's always going to be there, and it is cool in one hand, but like when you're trying to experience a new episode, it kind of falls flat a little. But don't get me wrong, like I really did enjoy it. And I think my main fault with it is actually like how it ended. I think had there been a different solution or resolution to how things ended, I probably would have left feeling a little bit better about things.
Yeah, I think that could be one of the things as well, like the resolution. Let's talk the resolution then, because in the end, the Doctor managed to save the day by hitting the reset button. So it wiped the memories of the body. Was it a bit of a cop-out? Is that kind of how you feel with it? Are you unhappy with how it turned out?
I think for me, because grief is like this massive emotion, and it feels basically every emotion you have going, like when you think about loved ones dying and things, it was underplayed. I felt like there should have been like a major doctor speech or something, kind of like the Ninth Doctor in The Empty Child and things. There should have been something like that to kind of point out how great grief is, and for all it's sad, it also like, there's like downs and ups to grief and things like that, and there should have been a huge moment on that, and that should have kind of been the moment. It just wasn't there. It was just like, oh, we'll just reset it, and the robots can go about, there can be this new sentient being and things like that, and it shouldn't have been like that. I know it sounds really picky, but like you said, grief is this like really bad emotion, or good depending on how you see it.
Yeah.
And it was just underplayed, and you can't reset an emotion, so there should have been like a better resolution than that, instead of just turning something off and on again.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you think about it, the situation that they're in, the Doctor's like, oh, you've done it now, and they look up and they see like the roof's like disappearing, it's turning into all these bodies, they're coming down. There's no way they can survive it. He's like, oh, hang on, let's turn it off and on again. That should sort things out. So it did. It felt really weak the way that they done it. But I guess at the other end of the scale, I couldn't think of anything else that he could really have done aside from reset them. So I guess I kind of have to concede like that argument and say that was the kind of way to do it, because the other option would be to disable them, but we know that, you know, them being alive now, it's obviously something that the Doctor wouldn't do, because he wouldn't take out that entire species, when really they weren't evil, they weren't bad, they made a mistake. They didn't know what grief was, and they were trying to fix it to get the planet ready for the rest of humanity. So it wasn't like it was their fault, and I think the way that the Doctor's been in the past, that was the reason why he sided with them, and he didn't want them using guns, taking them out, anything like that. That's kind of my take on it. Would you agree?
See, I think the more I think about it, what I probably would have done was I would have like used that tablet or book, whatever it was, and kind of show the other side of grief. And grief isn't always sad. There's remembering what those people were loved for and things like that. And
Yeah.
kind of, I think I would have showed that side of grief and like how happy the memories can make someone, kind of to fend them off and then maybe reset them. I think it was just a bit too, it was too quick. And I think because I'm harboring so much of the grief motive behind it and things like that, I think there should have been like a better resolution. That's all I can say.
No, actually, that is a brilliant idea. You've done it again. I think, using that tablet to their own advantage and showing them that, and then, showing them pictures and the way that people react to it. They obviously read the emotions, so they could show a picture, see how that person reacts, smile, realize, grief isn't a fully bad emotion. So it could have maybe turned them around. I like that idea. I wish they'd gone with that. That to me, that is a much better ending to the episode.
Like you said, I think that was the thing, because grief is something so huge and everyone goes through it. Just turning something off and on again, that doesn't get rid of grief, and it's always going to be there kind of thing. Even though it was for the robots, not the grief. It's still, I don't know, I think it just downplayed grief in general. And I would have liked to see the Doctor maybe have a speech about losing River or Susan or someone like that, just to keep bringing those throughout the series.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that's an awesome point. And you just mentioned River, so I'm totally right on that point as well. So there you go. That's the plot and the resolution out the way. You're on fire now. You've come up with some great ideas here. I'm going to ask you this next question then. In the episode, we had the Doctor shed a little bit more light on what he's doing with this vault. So the Doctor said, a long time ago, a thing happened. As a result of the thing, I made a promise. As a result of the promise, I have to stay on Earth. What's he talking about? What's in the vault?
See, I'm going to scale my theory right back this week, and I'm not going to say, oh, there's another Doctor in there or whatever.
Are you going to say River?
I'm not going to say River. Well, I've said River, but I don't think it's River. I kind of think that because of what the Doctor did with Clara and Gallifrey and kind of the extremes he went to, even making one of their generals regenerate, I kind of think he might have been burdened with a vault because of that. And I think the Master might be in there, and he kind of has to protect the vault so the Master can't harm anyone else.
That's a good theory. And I'm going to back it up, because was there a point where David Tennant's Doctor, the 10th Doctor, didn't he say that he wasn't going to kill him? He was going to keep him as his prisoner in the TARDIS? Maybe it's the same kind of thing. He's actually keeping him as his prisoner in this vault.
It's possible. I think from the end of time, when the Master went back with their Time Lords, I kind of think they've put him in this vault, kind of like one of their weapons for a rainy day, and that's kind of what we're going for.
Yeah. No, because Tennant said that, and then the Master obviously chose to kill himself over being his prisoner. But maybe if things turned out differently, we'll obviously see at some point during this season what it was that the promise was and what led to it. But I think, again, you could be right with that. I think maybe it could be the Master inside. We know he's coming back into it, so he could well be in there.
I kind of really want them to throw it out of the ballpark and come up with something that no one's thought of yet. I don't think it will, because there is that many vast theories, but I think that's the thing. In the past, we've gone for things way over the top theories where we thought Missy was originally Rani and things like that. I think it probably will be just someone simple like the Master, and we should probably settle for kind of low expectations, good as there will be, and it'll be played out. I think we better not get ahead of ourselves just yet.
Yeah, like we've just said, we've kind of built expectations up, and then we got Smile, and we're a little disappointed. So maybe if we aim lower for this vault and whoever's inside, whatever's inside, then I don't think we can be disappointed. Let's do that. So last up, let's talk Easter eggs, as I've got a few here. Firstly, the Vardy, those tiny little robots. They were actually named after Andrew Vardy, a scientist at Manchester University who inspired the episode's writer, Frank Cottrell Boyce. Then we had another Easter egg, whereby the plot appears to take place following the same events that caused the Earth to be previously evacuated, as the Doctor said that he'd ran into a few ships over the years, which was a reference to the Beast Below. Then we also had another throwback to that episode itself, because we're seeing Bill looking through the tablet. And it kind of showed the whole of human history and everything that had happened. And that was a throwback to the same Beast Below episode where Amy got shown all of humanity's history. And both of them ended up crying from that. So it kind of seemed like a little throwback. Just another one from Moffat there, giving it nice little throwback to that previous episode. So there you go. There's a few little Easter eggs. There wasn't much else that I picked up on, but if you picked up on anything, let me know about it in the comments and anything that we missed. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of Tardis Talk, but make sure to get involved. Let us know your thoughts on the episode, as well as your theories for this season in the comments, as well as following us on Twitter at Tardis_talk for live reactions, tweet-alongs, and more Doctor Who goodness. Until next time, though.
See you next time.